Ozzie Jurock will remember those days, that's for sure, Ozzie. He joins me. He's back in Canada, thank goodness.
Yes, I remember it also. I was 1964 in Melbourne, Australia, and the girl I was with, and I was very fond of myself, you should know this, but she said she wanted to go kiss the hotels where the Beatles were staying. I dropped her like a hot potato.
There you go. Hey, Ozzie, a lot of action, by the way, since you've been gone. And in British Columbia, they had an election. It took 2 weeks to sort out. Now it looks like we will have a NDP Green Party coalition coming. And obviously, one of the big questions I get asked immediately is, what's going to happen to real estate? I mean, they both had it in their platform, but in that 10-point agreement, it was pretty vague, as you'd expect. I'm not critical of that. I'm just saying we have to wait for details. They talk about affordable housing, but who doesn't? My dog talks about affordable housing. But one of the things that jumps out at me right now that worries me a bit is here they have opposition clearly to the Kinder Morgan pipeline, and we're talking about slowing down the real estate industry, the housing industry. Well, those are the two big job generators, and as we've discussed many times, you follow where the people go, you follow where the jobs are, and that's the strength of your market.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, the two biggest income and job generators in the province is resource sector and the housing industry. If they stop the Kinder Morgan pipeline, that's 34,000 jobs if they're successful. Site C Dam, which they have already said they will refer to the BC Utilities Commission, that's another 8,000 jobs. Plus, it will be a cold shower to anybody involved in the nascent LNG industry that's just starting to get underway. I mean, that's the things that they have said they will do. Now, a lot of the other things that they're planning to do or contemplating, that's maybe another story, but they're also very, very, I think, very far-reaching if all contemplated.
Let me just come to a couple things, because I think this is going to relate to what I think is happening in Calgary and Edmonton and the other parts of Alberta. But, we got the platforms to go on, and, obviously we'll see the details. They've got the agreement, but as I say, I wouldn't have expected any detail at that point, but they will put out a budget, and that will start elaborating on these things. But what kind of things jumped out at you from their platforms?
Well, the NDP had, they wanted 2% speculation tax in homes on Metro Vancouver if the owners pay little or no taxes. Remember, that's contemplated, not law yet. They also would review the 15% tax on Metro purchases. Now, the Greens wanted to double the foreign buyer tax. Now, they're not going to do that, but I do think they're going to keep the tax at 15%, but they'll expand it, certainly to some of the other areas in the province, maybe the whole province. You and I talked about that last August. It's such a juicy tax bite.
Well, that's right. I mean, it's been a revenue generator, but it certainly hasn't been, it hasn't kept prices down. It hasn't addressed affordability. But, the other side we saw when BC introduced it for the Vancouver region, the foreign buyers tax, well, we saw money just go elsewhere. I mean, that's one of the things that a lot of people have trouble understanding, that money has a lot of choices. That's one of the reasons I think Toronto all of a sudden even had stronger numbers there. And I kind of think if they do something like with the foreign buyers tax, I think that's going to be a green light to start, for international investors anyways, but also local investors, but that's enough for a reason, but international investors to start looking at Calgary.
Well, no question, Calgary and Edmonton. In fact,
yes,
you could argue that it's already happening. The market in Calgary and Edmonton has really recovered. The big boys have made major investments in apartment buildings and large buildings, and Seattle is absolutely soaring in value with all that money going there. But, some of the changes, they want to have a $400 rental rebate, but they also want to have a sliding scale maybe on the property transfer tax, which we talked about, the stamp duty in England. So they are at the top end for a $3 million house, there might be 12% tax on that. They may curtail the lifetime capital gain exemption in excess of $750,000. They want to have a new landlord and tenant act to regulate easier communications about what it'll mean. It'll be a fixed rental thing. And then finally, they want to build 11,400 new houses per year for the next 10 years. Mike, the basic of social housing, it costs almost $275,000 to deliver a basic subsidized bachelor unit. It would take $2 billion in the first year, double that if the land had to be purchased. So that would be 5 times higher than the NDP forecast. So that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. I just think all of the discussion about affordable housing is so off base and has been off base. It's just been an opportunity for politicians to grandstand for look-at-me moments. But as you say, when you start diving down into the real numbers, one of the things I heard during the BC election campaign, Ozzie, was they'd be able to build on Crown land. one problem. There's not an inch of crown land in the province of British Columbia that's not under claim. So it's just, that's the caliber of thinking I was hearing, though. And, from people who have no experience in development, very little economic sophistication from anything I can tell. And as you say, I mean, it takes months, even years, to get a multifamily permit in place, if you're looking at Metro Vancouver as your target area.
Well, but it's sexy, right? I mean, we do have a lot of people that obviously voted for the Greens, and it's a democracy. I mean, the NDP and the Greens, and we are a polarized society, unfortunately. But some of the things that can come on will be applauded by one side or the other, like maybe put a new tax on the assignment transaction itself on a pre-sale deal. But the effect will be that the developers that are now raising money to fund the construction will stop doing that. And so you have all these unintended consequences that I worry about. I mean, listen, I love this country. I'm totally for democracy, and maybe a change was necessary. But some of the things that are planned really worry me for our future.
Well, we'll be here to chronicle it, of course, as we get the details going forward. Ozzie, great to have you back. Thanks for joining us, and you did a great job through Europe.
Thank you so much. Now, remember, Mike, I'm known for sausages and beer, and I took my whole family, kids, grandkids. But when we came back, we know we are Canadians. You know what we missed? Dim sum.
There you go.